Wow, okay, so we're just going to do a quick afterthought.
Still rolling?
Yeah, just an afterthought because there might be some other things.
Yeah.
We'd like to do this for our YouTube because we have a lot of people that watch our show on YouTube and afterthoughts. But any other thoughts about love that you weren't able to say through the show because it was fast? But any other thoughts about love coming and maybe an encouragement of how to love or love unlovable people?
Yeah, you know what, I have a story really quickly. That I lived in BC area for about 10 years. We had Korean neighbors that had never been invited over to a different culture's home. We invited them over for Thanksgiving, and they didn't even know what like gravy was, and it completely shocked me. I was like, you know, and it made me really realize how even as Christians, and we want to reach out, and we want to love everybody, how still it's always a work in progress. You know, and I think I'm learning it even more because even, you know, as all of the racial tension in the States is happening, it happens in Vancouver too. You know what I mean? Like, I get followed. I've got to teach my boys, like, if you get pulled over, you know, and these are very things that not necessarily discussed in church communities, but we just need to start talking about them and make it, you know, my biggest advocates are my Caucasian friends going like, we need to love everybody, but really love everybody, not just say that we love everybody and then stand on the sidelines. You know? So I think it's very much being an ally to, you know, and you know, Mel, like being a woman in media, you know, that alone, okay, first of all, being a woman in media is its own thing, but then to be a woman of color in media, you know, I think that's just ways where as communities, as pastors, as leaders, we can be praying for each other, supporting each other, investing in each other. And, you know, I do believe things like this, like in the media, we change the world. This show is changing the world. And that's where you see the miracles of Jesus happening. And it's really just everyone coming together united. So
amazing.
Beautiful.
Wow, thanks.
I think, too, loving without agenda. I think the biggest thing,
that's good.
You know, 23 years of working with young women, I think now I am way more present and still. And I talk a lot less. I've become much more comfortable sitting in people's suffering than trying to fix their suffering or cheer them on or cheerlead people. To hold space with someone and to sit in their pain gets me out of the way and allows Jesus to come and do that deep healing work in someone's heart and for them to really experience transformational love.
So love is listening.
Sure is.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's powerful. Ooh, it's got a chill. That's good.
I think love is just being, right? Like you say, it's just you're just being. You're just hanging out. You're just doing life together. You're just going for a walk together. You're just you know, celebrating together. You're finding common ground. Like love is finding common ground with somebody, and like humanity, there's tons of things we can find common ground on, and that's something I always try to think of. No matter where I am, you know, where can I find common ground with this person? That's the first step to building a relationship of connection and trust, right? So
because we're all more alike than we know or we think,
so true.
right? We really are. We all have touch points. We're like, oh, you get that, you get that. That's why I think what's really cool about sharing story is that when we've been sharing story, people go, oh, so I'm not alone in that. So I'm not the only Christian who went through that. Because you've also gone through it too. And that opens up a whole other kind of conversation.
Sure does. You know, I think about love. I can't help but think about the people that are out there. For me, raised in church all my life, I think I was born on a Sunday and church the next Sunday, and that's just where my life went. But after we were married, John and I were married, I was very young, but we went through a 4-year, really a hard time in the beginning of our marriage, and I started to hide. I stopped going to church, stopped feeling, I just was hiding. I wasn't reading my Bible, I was just struggling. I didn't know, I was afraid to admit I needed help. And I remember one night, in the most desperate place, getting on my knees. John had already moved away, and I was at home in Vancouver, 2 little girls, very pregnant. And that night I found myself on my knees by my bed and reaching out to God. I'm like, God, I've messed up. I have done life with you, I've done life without you, and I have no idea what the future of my marriage is. I've got a baby in my belly. I'm a mess. But when I bowed my knee that day, I felt the presence of God with me in that room. I felt God just come and envelop me. And somehow I thought he must be mad at me or so disappointed in me, but I experienced love in a way that I had never known it before. And I felt like when I got up off my knees that day, like I felt hope. I felt like I can do this. I didn't know if John was going to do the journey with me with Jesus, but I knew that God and I could go forward. And I think that's the love that so many people need to experience, whether it's someone who's never heard about God before, or whether it's someone like me that knew God intimately and then walked away for a season. I know the love of God so personally, and that love that I felt that day has carried me from that day forward. And I feel like it's out of that I've been able to love as well. But we have to truly let him love us the way he wants to love us.
Good. When I look at my life, there's some key people and touch points in my life about love. So I always say the first one is my birth mom, Dory, who got pregnant as a teenager and chose to have me. And it's an incredible story about just love and the process of that, and then giving me up for adoption. I'm left in an orphanage, and then my family, who are missionaries, come and adopt me after my mom had a miscarriage. So you actually look at the whole story of love and God, and the choices we make matter. And then coming to Canada, and I'm the only brown girl on the block, and it was the first time I've ever had any kind of racial racism immediately, and so went into a whole like prodigal years, clubs and escape and all kinds of stuff, and really messed up until my dad loved me and said, "You're forgiven." And so someone who was adopted, I thought he could easily pull the card, like, "You're not really my daughter, and I'm ashamed of you and embarrassed of you." Like, my dad was a missionary pastor, and I was all over the place, and he just said, "You're my daughter, and I love you no matter what, and you're forgiven, and I love you." And those points of people making those choices in great sacrifice or beyond what they actually feel. Like, my dad was very angry, but he's like, how I respond to Melinda, whether it's love or not, will change her trajectory of life. And it did. And so I could keep going, but every part of my life, it was people who showed love. When I was depressed, when I went through my divorce, when I went through like all of these hard things, it was people who said, "We're going to extend the love of Jesus to you." And that is why I'm here today. And I think that's the whole call of when we start loving that way, it changes people's lives.
Totally, Linda.
Right?
Not only that, but to speak to that as well, it's really that love that's empowered, that empowers dreams. You know, I don't think you would be doing what you're doing today.
No. Right.
And I'm not going to cry. But like, seeing you do it is very groundbreaking in the media. So, and I think, you know, and whether it comes to, you know, this kind of dream, or, you know, our dream this year was just to travel and, you know, have productions pay for our work, you know, and that doesn't seem like a big God dream. It was just something that we dreamed as a family, and to watch God bring it to fruition. You know, you can dream anything. And I think it is the love of Jesus that empowers us to be able to dream bigger than we ever could before, you know, and I mean, I watch you do that all the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for your thoughts. Good afterthoughts for the show on love. So thanks.